And every governor's declaration talks about getting rental assistance.
It's confusing.
It's not
It
confusing,
is
sir.
when you-
I have had thousands of people in this courtroom, all of whom have navigated it. Media has been talking about it for well over a year. Case number 21E013808.
Again, Eric Newmark on behalf of landlord.
Welcome, Mr. Newmark. Welcome. Your name, please?
My name is Teresita Jimenez.
Jimenez?
Yes.
But I missed the first part.
Teresita.
Teresita?
Yes.
Okay. And your name, please?
Jan Oller, please.
Jan Oller, ma'am, your name?
Really?
Marie Oller?
Yes.
Thank you. This is before the court on a 7-day notice to pay rent or quit. If I can have you please raise your hand and be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Okay, Mr. Newmark. Well, this is a designated eviction proceeding under Assembly Bill 486. There are arrears which appear to date back to March of 2020, which would be 19 months ago. I know the tenants make an argument that they tried to pay rent, but it was steadfastly refused during that time. But I guess I need to know whether there's any rental assistance application pending.
Yes, sir.
Through,
Chaps.
okay, when was that filed?
In July, right after the governor's speech on how to do it.
When? July of 2020?
No, this July.
Okay, well, look, Chaps was paying out last year.
We didn't know about it.
Well, I don't know how, okay. I accept that, but I think at some point it becomes incumbent on tenants to get themselves informed when they're not paying rent over
Because we
a
have,
period of time. Because you're 19 months behind, 19.
sir,
Chaps will pay 12. What's gonna happen? Do you have the other 7 months you talked about? You refused to, just a minute, they have refused to take rent. You're calling it retaliatory, but if you have attempted to pay rent, I presume you've pocketed all that money, or are you in a position, do you have a large sum of money to assist to payment?
not all at once, sir.
Okay, because I mean, at some point you state, well, then they serve the pay or quit, asking for everything in a lump sum.
Yeah.
That's fair, they can do that, and if they were refusing rent, one, I'm happy to look at that, that's a good defense, but you need to show that they were refusing it. I don't know if you were, are you telling me you're trying to make partial payments and they
No.
were refusing that?
No, what happened was, basically, Ms. Jimenez told us that she can't take our rent. And she said that it has to do with the corporate office, that we have to talk to them, that all she does is do what the corporate office tells her to do.
Okay.
So we try to talk to the
But
corporate office.
when did you try to pay rent?
This was in 2020, right at the start from where we
Okay,
didn't pay.
so, but I've asked you, so were you going in with partial payments?
The whole money. We were
The
going
whole
with the whole money and we were
as in,
offering.
so you give me kind of a rough date. Are you talking in March or that April or that May, and you had 2, 3, 4 months of rent?
Okay, so what happened was with March, April, May, we came in and we offered to pay her the money. And she refused because she was engaged in retaliatory eviction against us. She refused to take our money.
Okay.
And she said the corporate office told her not to take it. The corporate office
Well,
wouldn't
so
talk
when you
with
say
us.
retaliatory, a pay or quit is not a retaliatory
But this
eviction.
is a no.
Okay, so that's a for-cause eviction. A no-cause eviction, like a 30-day no-cause, was that ever commenced, the no-cause?
It wasn't commenced. I mean, they
Because
started
a
it.
no-cause eviction can be, there can be that can be retaliatory.
They
If they're
start,
trying to skirt around some other for cause thing because they don't think they can get it on. So for instance, a lot of tenants were in default and landlords were trying to do no cause to kind of get around the failure to pay rent. But this is just straight up non-payment of rent for what is now 19 months, and it's for cause. So if they were refusing to take the rent, pocket that rent each month, sit on it so that you can enable me to cram down on the landlord that defense. Because if you had all the rent, I'd say they dutifully tried to offer it, at least that's the testimony. They've held on to it, they've got it to pay. I'm going to force you to take it. What do you have in rent to pay at this time, if the court ordered it?
around, it could be like around 3,000-4,000.
3,000 or 4,000? Okay. And the rent is $649. Is it still $649 a month?
Yeah, but they have,
Is your monthly rent still $649 a month?
yeah, we haven't like raised the rent on anything, so it was still, yeah, $695.
What's the balance due now? It was 11,000 plus back in July.
Yeah, when it's already going up to like approximately 17,000.
About 14.
Your Honor, I had 13,205 for September.
Well, it says 11,075.
I mean, so did you ever provide them a CDC declaration?
Yes, we did.
When did you provide that?
We provided that as soon as it came out.
Can you give me an estimate?
Oh, man, I'm sorry. It was like October 2020.
Okay, so in that, you would have represented that you had used, in the past tense, best efforts to seek rental assistance.
Yes.
In order for someone to truthfully sign that declaration, they must have applied for and sought rental assistance. But yet you're telling me
We
that
applied.
you didn't apply for rental assistance with CHAPS until July of
We
2021.
did not know we qualified. We didn't know anything.
Okay, well, landlords were providing in their notices that there's rental assistance available. If you watch the news, you couldn't avoid either reading it or seeing it, that there's rental assistance. This has been an ongoing issue that every agency of government has been concerned about. And the media has really put it out there, hey, you can get rental assistance. And it is a little dumbfounding to think that, let's see, it was July, so it was 17 months before you understood that you could
Before we
apply
understood
for
that we
rental
qualified and
assistance.
that we could get it, yes.
Okay, how do you justify signing your October's CDC declaration when you had not used
We
any
were
efforts?
unemployed. We didn't have the money to pay
I
that.
understand there, but that top representation that you make is, I have used best efforts to seek rental assistance.
Yes, and we did, and we looked at it, and then we found something that was offered. They said you have to live in the borders of Las Vegas City proper.
No, that's RAFT.
That was something.
RAFT didn't even start until the last
Well,
6
it was
weeks or so.
something. But we didn't know about CHAPS. We didn't know what we were supposed to do then, that we were qualified for it. And as soon as we found out we could qualify, then we applied. And we did use best effort. We followed through the application, we did everything.
See, the challenge right now is that so under Assembly Bill 486, I can't move forward with an eviction if there's a pending rental assistance application, which I think you make a representation that there is.
Yes.
I will take a look at that. But it defines in the statute a pending rental assistance application, and it defines that as a rental assistance application that has been filed in good faith. And the term good faith is not defined in that statute, but I think it's probably not unfair to use something akin to the CDC requirements, which was that best efforts are used to seek rental assistance. And
that does not apply anymore. Best efforts were used at the time.
no, you made no effort.
That's not true.
It is absolutely true.
That is not true, sir.
Okay, we will disagree on that point. You signed in October and you had not filed any rental assistance application. You just said, I didn't know about it until July, 17 months into the pandemic.
We didn't know it was going to last that long. We were waiting for a court date
Nobody knew,
before.
sir, but you still made the representations that about 10 months previous that you had actually sought rental assistance. And in fact, you had not. You haven't lifted a finger. So the thing is, if I protect you from eviction at this point, then we have to go through this process. That could be a 2-month process, and maybe you get approved, maybe you don't, I don't know. But then you're 21 months out. Chaps could pay 12 months, that's their max, and then you'd be 9 months behind. And then the landlord has to stand down for 60 days or so before they can do anything, because they call it an agreement, but it's not an agreement. The landlord has to sign, has to take the money. So I'm just not sure I can find that this is a good faith submittal. Far too little, far too late when you are so far behind.
We tried communicating. We did everything. They refused.
Okay, let's address that. So,
Nothing.
do you have emails where they're refusing?
I have emails where there's no answers.
Okay. All right, well, why not just mail the rent in, or if you have a direct
We're just
deposit?
supposed to mail a check to California to someone and not know.
I don't know, do it through certified mail and have it, something you can follow. But I don't have any evidence that you paid. Did you guys reject any payment?
During the pandemic, we didn't. We were actually trying to get the apartment back on October 15. I had sent a notice of 2019 for non-renewal.
2019.
Yes, 2019. And then we were in process for eviction in March of 2020 when the debt started, when they were doing no eviction.
Okay.
From that time being, they paid, we did say we weren't taking the rent, but then.
When?
It was, I believe it was like in January or February.
Of this year?
No, of 2020, when we did that. And then I went to their door, I went with another associate, I knocked, and I apologized for not accepting the rent, but we'll be able to accept the payment. She paid with the check bounced, and then she had to come back with a money order.
This is pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
After that, they haven't come in, made any payments after that.
Okay.
Your Honor, that's not true.
What's true then?
Okay, so what happened was we were supposed to leave in January. We said we were going to fight it.
January 2020?
Yes, and we said we were going to fight it because we've been there for 12 years.
There's nothing that says you get to stay forever.
It was our home.
No, it's not your home. It's a rental property. You have to understand that. At
Sir, my
some
father
point,
passed away there. Everything, it's our home.
it's not your home. I understand the sentiment that it is dear to you and you have had great life experiences there, but it's somebody else's home. It's a rental property. You pay in exchange to live there. And at some point, when a lease has expired, they can end the tenancy. They don't have to. Sometimes they may want to sell it, and right now the real estate market is hot, And home values are higher when they're empty, so they're entitled, a landlord is always entitled, when it's an expired lease, to terminate with a 30-day no cause. And it's just
January.
really, and it's not retaliatory.
Well, her reasoning for it was retaliatory. She said if we can complain, but she doesn't have to renew our lease. Then she didn't
She
renew our
doesn't
lease.
have to.
But it was
Doesn't have to.
retaliatory because of our complaints. And in January, what she did was we came in to pay the
Well,
rent.
okay.
We came in to pay the rent. She refused it. Then gave us a 7-day notice to move. We emailed the what do you call it, the corporate office. The corporate office then had her come over and apologize, and they accepted the rent. She told my mother that we could then stay on a monthly basis. In February, we paid the rent, and a day right after paying, then she gave us a no cause notice.
Okay.
And then when we tried to pay in March, April, she wouldn't take the money. And there was no communication with them. And we
They
were
lied to
there,
us.
we were there 12 years, we didn't know what to do. We'd never been in eviction court, we'd never done anything. All this is,
It's, okay.
we didn't know anything.
So, were you guys working? You said you tried to go in and pay rent.
Yes, and they wouldn't take it.
So, did you ever lose work?
Yes.
When did you lose your work?
Oh, years ago, before that, when, because I was an adjunct professor.
So,
Lost it, my mother was laid off in
okay,
March.
well, look, but you have to have COVID-related loss.
It was COVID-related losses. My mother was laid off because of COVID-19. She works at MGM Grand. She was laid off because of
Okay,
COVID-19.
okay, and nobody at MGM was telling you, go get rental assistance. I mean, everybody has taught rental assistance for the last 15, 16 months. And every governor's declaration talks about getting rental assistance. That would stay evictions, okay?
It's confusing.
It's not
It
confusing,
is
sir.
when you-
I have had thousands of people in this courtroom, all of whom have navigated it, okay? The notices are required to tell you what to do, okay? Media has been talking about it for well over a year. When did you say you submitted your application?
It was in July.
July?
We're awaiting a caseworker.
Your Honor, it looks like that application was submitted just after the 7-day notice was served.
Okay. Mr. Newmark, what would you like to tell the court, if anything?
Your Honor, I agree with your analysis. I do believe it's a little bit too little too late. I mean, we're at the 11th hour here. There are 19 months in default. It's a considerable sum. And even if CHAP does approve them, they're only going to be approved for 12 months, which sets the stage for another 60 to 90 days worth of back and forth on this if that money can't be paid. So it might be easier at this point in time to kind of cut bait and call it a day and let the parties go their separate ways on this than try to navigate the waters here.
I have required landlords to stand down when these matters have been, when I have deemed a tenant hasn't used best efforts, but has at least a timely application. And in this case, I clearly you have not used best efforts, at least efforts that would clear the CDC requirement. That's no longer applicable, but there is a good faith measure here. I don't deem good faith to relate to how sincerely a person wants it, or I don't deem that you have done anything in bad faith. You have not availed yourself of many benefits that, at every government level that it's been talked about through the government, through the media for a year and a half.
Your Honor, good faith means
and
actively
so-
pursuing.
Pardon me?
good faith would mean actively pursuing, and that's a material issue of fact, that we are actively
No,
pursuing.
I disagree with you. I have to conclude that there must be some timing element in relation to the protection of AB 486.
There is no timing involved in it.
You know, if I apply the best efforts standard to define good faith, you would fail miserably in that. And but what I am unwilling to do is hold this landlord hostage for you know, if you did get a payment in 2 months, finally approved, and then they had to wait another 2 months, such that we'd be at 11 months out. I'm not going to hold them hostage for 11 months of uncovered rent because you have sat on this for 18 months. The court will find, I'm going to make a ruling. The court will find that the tenant's efforts to file for rental assistance does not comply with the good faith submission of a rental assistance application in AB 486, in as much as the submission was 17 months after default, and we are now at 19 months, and the court does not believe AB 486 was designed to put a landlord 11 months behind when they may be able to first move again for taking the property back. You know, this was a situation where, frankly, it probably made sense to just vacate, even though you'd been there 12 years, because you didn't have the wherewithal to
They
pay.
could have worked with us. They could have worked with us. This is all because we complained about her friends. This is where it stems from.
Well, but you're not sitting on $11,000 of rent.
No,
If you had that, that argument might hold water, but it doesn't. So the court will find the unit has not been vacated. I'll find unlawful detainer and order summary eviction. I will tell you that if there's any bright spot in any of this, this will not remain on your record. Assembly Bill 141 requires that all paraquet evictions be sealed that were issued during the pandemic, so it doesn't end up being a black mark on your record. Okay, good luck to you.
that's it.
Thank you.